But of course, the flip side to that sort of sensitive period and all of that developmental plasticity and potential is that you're also laying down patterns that could potentially last a lifetime. And if those patterns are negative, then the harms could last a lifetime. So following up young children for years and years after their participation in these intervention studies is really important if we're going to properly capture possible harms. Examples of the kind of harms that we might see would be, for example, encouraging autistic children to respond to the kind of commands and instructions of others. That can lay down behavioral patterns which are going to impact on autonomy and independence later in life, in terms of autistic people being decision makers and in control of their own kind of destinies. And of course, that could make them vulnerable to exploitation and abuse as well. So if you're working with someone very, very young and teaching them that their role in life is to listen to the instructions of others and comply with those, that's going to potentially have significant harmful effects. More immediately, I think there's concern, and this is something that Michelle Dawson and I have written about, but particularly this is kind of Michelle's take on things, and I really love it. This idea that, you know, there's a risk that by diverting the developmental trajectory of autistic children, we are causing a loss of engagement with their own autistic interests, with their own adaptive behaviours, their own self-generated approaches to managing the world, and of course their strengths and talents as well. And so that's a really important risk of harm that at the moment is not being measured or captured at all. And of course, more broadly, the fact that we have a body of literature that is utterly disregarding even the possibility of harm being caused to autistic children is part of a broader narrative that can feed into the dehumanization of autistic people, and that can underlie abusive practices. So it's part of a sort of, it's not necessarily that there's a direct link from a particular study to a particular abusive practice. It's more that it's part of a culture where autistic rights and autistic humanity is not being recognized adequately.